Hi, I'm Roy, the director of The Race of Our Lives. Making this film was so rewarding. It is a story of how one person really can change the world. After years of suffering, Nancy was diagnosed with a disease that was virtually invisible to the medical community. Armed with an unwavering purpose, Nancy, her family, and the Relapsing Polychondritis Board took on the world. And what happened was a global movement. Watch the film. It will inspire you.
It's hard to put into words what relapsing polychondritis is. It's just devastating. That's what it is. It's devastating.
Relapsing polychondritis is a systemic inflammatory disease that affects multiple organs.
Your immune system attacks cartilage in your body. And as you can imagine, you have cartilage everywhere in your body.
Autoimmune diseases are discreet, and a lot of people are suffering silently.
It is the ultimate nightmare.
We had to figure out who's doing what. So who are the key players? I had to start from scratch.
There's not a lot of data out there on the best treatments for relapsing polychondritis.
People are less inclined to speak out because they don't feel supported.
That's really our primary role, is to validate the things that they've been struggling with. We need investigators from around the world working together.
Our goal is to try to give them their life back.
We're racing now, so why not the Race for RP? Printed up shirts and hats and decals. How else to build awareness?
I can put Race for RP on my suit. You know, I'll gladly wear your hat.
Oh yes, we're on board, definitely, and you see it everywhere.
Some patients who had no interest in motorsports, but now all of a sudden it's like, that's my car. You know, that's my driver.
What better way to spread it than to put the logo on a car?
It gives us all hope that they're doing something.
The research that we're doing is helping us to learn more about the disease and then develop effective therapies.
We're going to achieve that through multidisciplinary, multi-specialty research.
We do research because it's our responsibility. We need to do better.
It's recognized the relationship between the autoimmune disorder and cancer. It is providing us this innovative and the right environment to foster our ideas.
As a community, we think that we can do a ton of good by gaining even more support for our research and more support for these initiatives to better diagnose patients, to find better treatments.
We've come halfway. Let us go together. We'll partner and go forward. We can do more.
Every dollar counts.
If we figure out RP, the dominoes will fall.
What this means is that all of the work has mattered.
Without the RP Foundation, my husband wouldn't be alive today.
So how far have we come in these 10 years? Of the many lessons learned, the foremost has been that purpose is powerful. Purpose, even when originating from pain, can bring people together to create change. We are determined to change the outcome for autoimmune and RP patients with your help.
When making a documentary, you have to be all in. Yes, you have some creative freedom to construct the story, but these are real stories with real people and actual events. You have to keep in mind that you are a servant to the work. You must surrender to it, and it will tell you what to do. The Race of Our Lives is a perfect example of this.
A good track, good cars, and a good cause. Charity races are always a great way to scratch that competitive itch, but still feel good about being a positive force in the world. Tonight will be no exception as we get ready to watch the 2023 eRace for RP, and you'll see it all live here on Podium Esports. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Greg Kramer. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Greg, I am looking forward to this one. Like I said, such a great cause that we've got, that we're racing for tonight. And honestly, with just an incredible group of drivers.
It truly is. I mean,
Apologies, looks like we might have just a little bit of a hiccup here technically, but as we said, just a fantastic race that we've got going on tonight at a beautiful circuit here. And we'll see if we can get Greg in just a moment. And it sounds like, yeah, we've got Greg with us here now. Greg cannot wait for this one. Oh, maybe we don't have Greg. Apologies. Circuit of the Americas is going to be hosting tonight's race, of course, and with quite a few corners out there, 20 of them to be exact, over a long lap. In fact, 2+ minutes for these GT3 cars to make it around this 3.5 miles. Perhaps more well known for Formula One racing around here, but hosts plenty of other styles of racing. GT3 certainly shows its face around here and should put on a good race, with most of the passes expected down into turn 12 and of course into Big Red, that first corner. The race itself is not going to be as familiar. Now they're going to do stage racing, 7 laps and then 5 laps. They'll swap drivers and then 7 and 5, and that's going to be broken up by cautions that will slow everything up and bring the cars back together. And then at the end of it, you're given points at the end of each stage based on your position. And the winner won't be who wins the race at the end of that 4th stage. It'll be who has the most stage points at the end of the race. So it'll be more about the consistency over the course of it than just simply being up front at the very end. Should be an interesting nature to this one, no doubt. And we'll kind of maybe shake things up a little bit compared to what we're used to seeing, with a lot more pressure put on to try and be as high up as you can at the end of those stages. So watch out for drivers maybe being pretty anxious to try and make some passes even very early in this race, which will probably last roughly about an hour tonight. So should be a fun time out there. And with names such as Daniel Morad out there, we've got both the Taylor brothers racing tonight. We have names such as Ben Spies that is getting into the car. We have Neil Verhagen out there. Aga Khani is also running drivers I've gotten to watch and call in real life out on the racetrack. So I'm excited to see them take to the virtual world here and see how they fare on that one.
I can hear you.
And it looks like we do have Greg back with us. Welcome back, Greg. Glad that we finally got you here on the mic. Like I was saying, this is going to be a fantastic one with such a unique format. And as I was just rifling off, so many amazing names out there.
The names are spectacular. I mean, you've got, some of the absolute top names in actual professional motorsports, but blended with drivers that are just as passionate, some of them just as talented. They may not be the big names. They may be running in amateur racing or the like, but they have that heart, right, Joe? That's the thing, and they have the passion for it. And the cause tonight is truly what is spectacular. I mean, we're here, obviously, to go racing and to compete, but tonight it's far more about the cause and, raising funding for research for an incredibly horrific and very rare autoimmune disorder called relapsing polychondritis. And it all comes down to Race for RP has done a brilliant job, along with the Polychondritis Foundation, of generating awareness and education about relapsing polychondritis. But the final step is research. That's what's going to find causes and cures and treatments, and that is why we are here tonight. It's all about generating funding for that much, much needed research.
And it sounds like we have a video as well prepared. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to see here? Oh, and
I had not chosen the path I walk. Journey is lonely, yet everyone can watch. Help me, give me strength when I lose sight. One foot and then the other, push, push. I'm not backing down. Never surrender. The fight that turns you into a champion. Keep moving forward. You fight the fight and keep your balance. Oh, I will fight. I will fight. Oh, fight. I will fight. I will keep my balance. Fight. I will fight. I will keep my balance. I had some moments of fear and doubt, days filled with questions I couldn't figure out. Strong-willed, I will fight through all self-doubt. One foot and then the other, push, push. I'm not backing down. First surrender, fight that turns you into a champion. Moving forward, you fight the fight and keep your balance. I will fight. I will fight. Oh, fight. I will fight. I will keep my balance. Fight. I will fight. I will keep my balance. Fight. I will fight. I will push my things
You know, folks, while approximately only 3 of every million people or so are afflicted with relapsing polychondritis, there is no rare disease when you suffer from one. Yet, because it is so rare and for far too long, those who suffer have had to fight alone. And yet somehow they continue to fight. Well, the mission of the Relapsing Polychondritis Foundation and Race for RP is to shout loud to all those who suffer, you are no longer alone. And that's what research will do. When you have research, you have hope. And in that video, you could see the smiles of the people when they finally went to a doctor who knew what RP was, or went to a research center that also did treatments to understand that people are there for them. And we have to say a massive shout out to Denise Stephanie, an amazing singer, as you could tell, but also who penned the lyrics and music for that incredibly powerful video. Stephanie, you're a treasure as well. So great way to kick things off, Joe.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's great to see this being brought to light so people can know about this, and maybe a little bit more can be done. But the grid is set up for this race. You can see them taking off, and on the pole it is going to be Road Shagger Racing Esports with Moradness starting in second. And this is not determined by qualifying time. This is determined by who had the most donations. ST Racing Esports will start from third, with Old Men SCR starting in P4, and then Jared's Basement Racing in fifth position. Team USA Scholarship starts sixth tonight, followed by Sudaria de Wilson. Love that name, by the way, in seventh. Carbon with Perishing Racing starts eighth, and then Monday Night Motorsports in ninth. Sudaria Clem Fandango starts 10th. Then you've got the very simple Sudaria Corsa starting 11th. Stallneck Autosports will be 12th, and Tokyo Drift 13th. Two brothers, actually our brothers, racing in 14th, with Field of Sting in the 15th spot. Marcellor Motorsports will start 16th, Madsen Motorsports 17th. Pro and Joe Racing starts P18 tonight. Wickawar Motorsports will be P19. AI Ghost Racing 20th. And I believe that is going to be it. 20 cars here tonight on the track as they take off on the pace lap here. It is a partial pace lap, and then they will be underway here in a moment from the backstretch, and then working their way through the infield portion around that triple right-hander, and then they'll get the green flag for the first 7 laps. 2-driver team here, Greg, so it's up to this first driver to kick things off well.
Yeah, they have to stay in it, obviously. They go 7 laps, then there is a full course caution, and that's the end of stage 1, then another 5 laps. And after that second stage, the points are tallied, and then you do a driver change. But there's something really fascinating that comes up there as well. It's called the Fundraise Them Up Challenge winners. The people from whence the grid was closed to the end of stage 2, the highest fundraisers get a 3 grid place bump on the restart for stage 3. Second highest get a 1 grid spot bump. And it is truly all about raising funds here tonight in fundraising. And at this point, you can see we're already up over $16,000 in this absolutely amazing cause as we are getting ready to go here. This very, very tricky uphill. This is quite the track, obviously, Joe. Good elevation change, 130 feet from the lowest spot down by pit out to the top of turn 1. I think they're calling that Big Red these days. But it does have some undulation to it. And I'll tell you what, the S's are absolutely spectacular here. And you talked about it, that triple apex right-hander, 16, 17, and 18. Just a blast. These GT3 cars, with all the downforce that they generate, are going to be flying around here, Joe.
Absolutely. And yeah, talking about the Big Red being turn 1, I'm a big stickler for giving corners names instead of just numbers. To me, it just gives them so much more character and makes them more memorable. That triple right-hander, I feel like it needs a name, and I've heard the official name of that tower is Rattlesnake Tower, but then I was kind of calling that one Turkey unofficially, since that's what it mimics. But then I think they should name it after what the tower is kind of colloquially known as, which is the Mullet.
Yes, yeah, one of the world's tallest mullets. I think the guy who coined that, his brother's racing today, Ricky Taylor. It was his brother Jordan that came up with the world's tallest mullet when he had one that he was growing at length for some fundraising. So, yeah, I like that as well. It's an amazing corner, as you said, modeled after a turn in the other direction at Turkey. So many portions of this track are done in homage, if you will, to various things. That first section of the S's to Maggots Beckett's Chapel at Silverstone, second part of the S's to the Suzuka S's. I mean, they've really done a good job of that. And here's an interesting thing. The guy who envisioned this whole thing, a promoter named Tavo Hellman, he was a huge fan of Kevin Schwantz, the motorcycle world champion. Kevin, along with Herman Tilke, helped design this track. And you know what Kevin's number was? And I'll give you a hint. What's the length of this track?
3.4, so he was number 34.
Indeed. Yeah, that's it. He was a massive Kevin Schwantz fan, and that's why this track measures 3.4 miles in length. Interesting little bits of trivia here.
I never knew that aspect about it. I usually pride myself in knowing a lot of different trivia about tracks, but I never knew that one. That is very cool.
I didn't know that one until this fall. When I was there for Moto America, and I was told that story.
Well, I have to say, it figures that one of the Taylor brothers coined the mullet name too. Yeah,
exactly. Jordan has a wicked sense of humor, and not at all surprised. Ricky does too. He's just a little bit more quiet and droll about it. And Jordan's right out there. But you know, this field. Look at all of these different cars. I mean, iRacing has done a great job of modeling so many of the GT3 homologated cars these days, and we've got a great mix of them here.
Absolutely, including the latest one just introduced last week, the Audi 2 Evo. It replaces the old Audi that was on here for quite a few years and looks spectacular. But up at the front, it is currently Marsler Motorsports, the number 7 BMW, that is going to be leading them as they've come up to the start-finish line here after the next corner. I believe we should be underway because they've now got them in the correct order. They've regridded them according to what we showed you originally, but it is in the order that is correct for them. So we'll get that timing and scoring up for you in a moment. In the meantime, they come out of the final corner, and Tyler Campbell has control of the field, waiting patiently for the call from the flag stand. Already a couple of them checking up a little bit as they're eager to get running here at Circuit of the Americas. And there is the green flag. It's now a dash up to Big Red as they are getting ready to fan out, sometimes 4 and 5 wide as they enter that corner. Somebody sending way deep on the outside there in a Ferrari, but it looks like off of that first turn, it's actually going to be Jeff Westphal who leads the way.
A touch in the back. It was about mid-pack, 2 cars getting together. They collected another couple, 4 cars total. But yeah, Jeff Westphal, I think in that Peregrine Racing entry, has jumped into the lead. Beautiful outside move. A couple other cars going around as well. Mid-S's here. Now, as I understand it, damage is off. So you can get in one of those incidents, but the car will sort of self-heal, and you can get right back into the competition. Although, obviously, you'll lose a few spots, Joe.
Exactly, and well, since we know it's consistency and finishing at the end of the stage breaks, you don't want that to happen. It was Robert Wickens and Ricky Taylor that found themselves in trouble as we got third place spinning, it looks like, and that was, it looks like Jeremy Clark who gets it going.
Yeah, just got it, you hard on the brakes, you're trailing right into the apex there at 11 or into 12, and it's such a crucial corner getting in and through 11 well, because it leads onto the longest straight here, and he just got in a little bit hot. But you can see right now Jeff Westphal in that carbon with Peregrine just getting that car rotated beautifully. And with that incident with Jeremy Clark, there's a bit of a gap now behind Tyler Campbell, sits in that number 7 in second spot, and then Scuderia Clem Fandango and Ryan Lewis leading really a big queue of cars from third on back at this stage.
Yeah, they stay pretty clumped together. I know in the warm-up, I was looking at second through fifth was separated by, I think, all of about 0.2 of a second. So it was tight between them, especially over this long of a lap. Unfortunately, Stephen Wilson looks to have had a little bit of an off at the back of the field in the infield portion. But in the meantime, just about finishing lap 1, it is still Westphal up at the point with Tyler Campbell keeping him honest.
Yeah, Tyler's sticking right with him, and that is really impressive. Jeff Westphal, extremely talented, fast driver here. Guy to maybe keep an eye on is the car running in 5th right now, the number 70, the Moradness entry. Daniel Morad was fastest in that practice session, or that warm-up session. Big lunge down to the inside of Nicky Hayes in the Madsen Motorsports entry. Looks like he may have gone through, and no, Hayes fights back. Mercedes and Audi going at it here, and a great fight back. But look at Daniel Morad. He looked for a second like he might have the inside, Joe, into those S's, but eventually that's got to turn, that car in front of him. I think he was smart there to just give it up.
I agree. He's going to have another lunge coming up towards the last of the S's here, climbing uphill. Doesn't quite get the job done. Nicky Hayes holding him off. He's not giving up, though. Daniel Morad retains the inside up through turn 9. And as they get ready to plunge back down the hill, look at that coming in through behind. Chris Beets also follows him through.
Yeah, nice job in that Roadshagger Racing entry. And, you know, that's one of the things that can happen here. Oh, Morad runs a little bit wide, went too deep into turn 11, and that's going to cost him on the exit. And looks like Chris Beets is going to go by Daniel Morad, and that's going to really hurt Morad's exit speed. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Nicky Hayes with this double draft here, Joe, coming right back after him.
Absolutely. Does he dare try and make it 3 wide? No, not quite close enough. Deeper on the brakes for Beets. He's going to be able to sneak through. Morad tries to once again cut back. He is really feeling feisty today. And Daniel's one of those drivers that is an avid iRacer, so he knows this sim well.
He's a very avid iRacer, and in my mind, he's one of the, ooh, look at this move, beautiful move. And that was a real-world application to make that move go here in the iRacing. In that corner, if you have that position, you can just release the brake for an instance and skip up underneath. And Daniel Morad doing a brilliant job in a huge fight right now. He is, to me, one of the more underrated of the North American road racers out there. Guy is just flat fast.
Got to call him in the SRO series quite a bit this summer, and yeah, he is definitely quick when he gets on it. And as he comes up the front stretch, that's going to put that number 70 into 4th place as Roadshagger continues to try and hassle them. A little bit farther up ahead, we hop on board with Tyler Campbell now, still chasing on Westfall. Oh, and Westfall slows. He must have had a slowdown penalty for a cut course or something there.
Yeah, it was just suddenly an abrupt lift, and that's exactly what that means. And, you know, you have to be careful here. There are track limit violations, and a lot of it seems to happen at the exit at 12. Guys will just run way, way wide out there trying to carry even more speed. And, of course, that does give you an advantage over somebody who hasn't. And now, I love this onboard shot riding with Ricky Taylor, sitting in the 11th spot right now. And just watching him, boy, he has had a lot of experience on this track in super high downforce prototype machinery, and now giving it a serious go here in one of the GT3 cars. That's one of the, I believe that's the Ferrari 296.
It is indeed, just behind a whole clump of cars. That's Jackson Lee fighting with Daniel Clark and Jeremy Clark as well, a little bit up the road. We're watching from on board him, looking back at the battle for 9th and 10th. Interesting to see Ricky Taylor have already gained up a number of positions because he was involved in that opening incident, was sent back as a big look up the inside from Daniel Clark. He's going to be able to overtake his fellow Porsche, maybe? Yep, he feeds him out.
Yeah, that Monday Night Motorsports entry. Jackson Lee, somebody to keep an eye on here, folks. He is an up-and-comer in the IndyCar ladder system, working his way up into Indy next, and is a real talent here. His dad is an announcer on the IndyCar broadcast, and Jackson really doing a nice job, and he is a full-on driver ambassador for Race for RP, and great to see him having a really solid run here in the early going. And Danny Clark, if that name rings a bell, he used to be, they used to call him, you know, he had a couple of names, Dangerous Dan Clark, Dandy Dan Clark, an IndyCar racer when he came over from England and opened some eyes up with just raw pace. Great to see him in this mix as well.
Wow, Daniel Morad already on the attack once again. Ryan Lewis doesn't even fight it, breaks a little early, in fact, lets him go.
Well, that was amazing how quickly he was able to run down Clark or Ryan Lewis there, and Morad really throwing down some laps. Taking a look here, he just turned a 2:08.1, and everybody else around him is running mid or high 2:08s. So he's definitely on the move, and now Chris Beets going to have to figure out a way around that Scuderia Clem Fandango car, that red Ferrari right in front.
Tried to cut underneath them, but couldn't quite make it stick as they exit the S's up to the crest of the hill. Very blind here as they use up as much as they dare on the exit. Oh, and look at this. This is the battle for the lead. Westfall is not sitting around. He's already tracked down Campbell, goes for an attempt coming onto the backstretch, but it doesn't stick.
Yeah, you can see him. He got a great run and went through one of my favorite corners here, turn 10, that fall away high-speed kink. and he couldn't quite get it done. But what he did, he went to the inside in 11. Well, he got pinched because Campbell doing a great job staying around the outside, and thus Jeff had to give up a little bit of exit speed. But you can see now Campbell protecting into 12, Jeff swinging way to the right, trying to open that arc up, get a little bit better exit speed out. I'm kind of curious to see whether Jeff is going to try a move if he's close enough, like we saw Ricky Taylor do when he just, or Daniel Morad do when he just opened that break up a little bit. Couldn't quite get it done, but yeah, these two battling now. Morad is flying up on the back of these guys.
I was just going to say, if they don't watch out, they could both get overtaken if they're too focused on one another. But maybe this is even more impetus for Jeff Westphal to try and make the pass quickly, because he wants to try and get away from Daniel as quickly as he can if he feels like he's faster than the 7.
Absolutely, and Daniel was part of that a few years ago, that absolutely wonderful story at the Daytona 24 Hours, in a small team that only ran a few races, came in and were able to pick off the big names and win the GT category there. So I'm sure that Mr. Westphal is very aware who's in that white car behind him here, that white Audi, and is definitely going to have to up his pace just a little bit to fight him off.
Probably
Oh yeah, he's coming, isn't he?
Ooh, and that was a little bit of an awkward run through the S's for Campbell, and he's disappeared. He may have had a connection problem, unfortunately.
I think that was it, yep.
Yeah, so that means it's now a battle for the lead between Morad and Westphal instead. They hit the top of the hill once again, but there is that slowdown penalty once more as Moradness pulls off the racing line and gives the time back.
Yeah, and I think where he got nailed for that, I was just watching him in that really tricky run through turn 8, and I think he got all 4 tires inside of that white line that marks the track edge, and that's what cost him, and in fact cost him a position as Beats had much better momentum and was able to get through. But Danny got a great run through 11 and now was able to draft Beats. That Audi working well behind that Porsche. The number 61 has position, and Beats trying to open that arc into the corner again.
So overtaken once more by Morad, who's certainly had his hands full this race. He's been giving us plenty of action, but it is the end of lap 5. We've got 2 more to go before this stage is over. And it is definitely looking like Jeff and Daniel are 2 of our major players in terms of speed. But let's not forget what this is all about, that we are trying to raise money for awareness and research, of course, for RP. And if you want to help do that, then you can scan this code on your screen. And we heard Greg talking about this earlier. You can help your driver get more points. This is almost kind of akin to Formula E's fan vote that they had.
Exactly. That's a great way to describe it. And yeah, if there's a particular team or driver you're favoring, scan that QR code, donate some money, and if they end up with the highest donation value at the end of the second stage, they will get a 3-spot bonus on the restart lineup. And we've got a great battle up the hill and into Big Red, and I think that is Clark and Martineau, and Taylor in the number 10 behind really fought for a moment. He had an opportunity.
Yeah, they're still close, though. He's peeking his nose coming into the S's, and Clark decides against it. Probably wise in that scenario. Martineau actually just got to see him the other day back at PRI, and he is eager to get back in the cockpit, no doubt. And this virtual version will probably at least scratch the itch temporarily.
Well, that's it. And it also for racers using sim racing, it keeps you sharp. And it also is a great tool, if you need to learn a new track or if you're trying to perfect lines. And, one of the magic things these days is the fact that you could have your coach be, across the other side of the planet and be able to work with you here. And look at this, Chris Beats sitting in 3rd right now in that Roadshagger Racing Porsche, up on the back of Daniel Morad in the Moradness Audi, who has closed quickly again on Jeff Westphal. And Westphal, though, he upped the ante on that last lap, turned to 2:10.6. And he had to, because of Moradness and Danny. Oh, and Morad, you see how he opened that up, and for a second, Chris thought, can I do it? He just wasn't quite close enough, Joe.
He's got to be right on that rear wing, and you have to imagine that Daniel's probably going to be fierce in his defense on this one, especially if he sees Chris try and take a dive on him. But yeah, Jeff has been freed up. Remember, he doesn't have that car in front of him. Wonder if that's allowed him to pick up the pace too, now that he doesn't have any sort of dirty air in front, and maybe he can now try and take off and be a little bit quicker to try and fend off Daniel Morad. Back past the start-finish line we go, and it is Westfall. Morad beats nose to tail.
And we should point out that everybody here in these GT3 cars, there's and there goes Daniel Morad, late dive to the apex here at Big Red. But that's what happens. You get in too deep, you can't get the car turned, you've got to wait to get to throttle, and just that fast, Jeff Westfall squared him up, did the over-under to absolute perfection.
So back to the front with the number 2 machine. That Porsche still leading. He hasn't been leading as much of this race, but just temporarily here and there. Even still, he's been capitalizing when he's had that opportunities. And as they weave their way up through the last bit of the S's, this snake of cars is coming down to it. We're on lap 7, and at the end of this, we'll get our first stage caution.
We will, and I see we've already had a couple $100 more in raise them up money. Oh, and this time Morad just throws it down the inside into 11. But again, you saw Westfall stayed parked around the outside. That meant Daniel had to turn a little bit tighter, had to wait to get the throttle, and this might give Beats an opportunity. But as we're coming to the age of this, at the end of this first stage, folks, hit that QR code. Let's do some donating here and see if we can get these numbers up. Such a great cause here. And Daniel Morad running way wide. Question there is going to be, do they think he was forced wide by Westfall? And Beats now going to try and make this an interesting little trio. It couldn't quite get, Westfall almost got in the back of Morad. Lost a little bit of momentum there. Wow, these guys, what a battle this is, Joe.
This is fantastic stuff, and it's carrying on. But I do think that Daniel has the advantage now with that track position, with only 2 corners left to go, both of which difficult to try and make passes stick. Going as wide as he can on the entry. Chris Beats trying to open things up, but he's just not quite there. We reach the start-finish line, and Daniel is smooth. He is going to lead this first stage, taking the most points. Westfall second, and Chris Beats in third.
And you saw Daniel swing over to the wall, flash the lights to the imaginary crew there. And I was going to say, as the rest of the field comes sweeping through, everybody in these respective cars, and there's what's called a balance of performance with these GT3 homologated cars. And for all of these cars, they're running on their highest downforce and highest power settings. So this should be a very entertaining race, no question. Certainly has been. That battle for the top 3 was spectacular.
Yeah, I got to think that with that wing cranked up, it's going to give plenty of opportunities to try and pass on the longer straights around here with such a huge hole in the air that they are pushing. But now you can see they will slow up. They will bunch them back up here. They'll release them for the next 5 laps. It's going to be even shorter than what we saw before. And anybody who is trying to climb their way through because they qualified, or in quotes, qualified lower down, or gridded, I should say. Nikki Hayes is one I'm looking at. Started 17th. Actually, no, excuse me. That time in scoring is according to where they were gridded up and they got reordered. So actually, I need to go back and check and see where they started this thing to figure out who has actually climbed up, because my numbers are lying to me now. So, but regardless, my point being, Greg, that anybody who is charging forward and started from the back now has all that gap to the leader erased.
Well, exactly, and we had a number of cars in that first lap that had offs. Jordan Taylor in the Radney Sandstorm does race car driving team. We've got Alex Prima, who is an absolutely top-flight Frenchman driver. Jackson Lee, who is quick early. Harry Gottsacker, Stefan Wilson, Robert Wickens, who just won a championship in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, and one of the great inspirational stories of all time. Is a guy there as well. And keep in mind, we do have 2 different Clarks. We have Jeremy Clark, who is an absolute standout in Ferrari Challenge, and Dan Clark, who has raced everything from IndyCar to Michelin Pilot Challenge as well. As we're on board the pace car, as the queue behind starts to form up. Joe?
Indeed, and for those wondering, well, the pace car is actually I believe a Ferrari that they've kind of commandeered. It's not the actual iRacing pace car that you will usually see. Actually, very nice looking. I believe that's the actual livery that one of the Race for RP teams use, is it not?
Absolutely, it is the car that Neil races in Ferrari Challenge. It's that graphics package. And he's had that graphic package for a long time, and they've incorporated those colors right into the Race for RP logo, and making that connection. And so it's so cool here to see that car with this livery, because it really embodies what Race for RP is all about. You see these cars racing in the Ferrari Challenge, but so many more than just Neil's car are actually running the Race for RP logos, because this has just, it's been an amazing movement that people are just jumping on here. And once you meet Nancy Lynn, Neil's wife, who suffers from relapsing polychondritis, and you meet Neil and everybody else that's part of it, the overriding urge is we need to do something to help these people. And they've been doing an amazing job, as I said, with all of the logos on all these cars. It's now happening over in Europe. They're starting to get recognition there as well. And take a look at this. The fundraising battle there is right up at the top right now. So this is really cool to see how this is playing out. Roadshagger, Pro and Joe Racing, and Two Brothers teams are all nearly tied at the top. So if you're choosing one of those teams, raise them up a little bit more, fund them up a little bit more, and let's see what we can make happen here. But as I was saying, now we have teams racing in the British GT Championship that are running Race for RP logos. We have teams running all over the world that have now jumped on this, and that's the awareness, and out of that springs the education. What is RP? We're aware of it, but what is it? You know, what needs to happen here? And then, of course, it's all about funding the research, because it's through the research that you have hope, and it's through the research that you can affect true change. And that's the really cool thing here. Boy, Danny Murad is anxious, isn't he?
yeah, he's having a little bit of fun, I think
he is.
That we have to remember that the damage is off, so he's been kind of giving little nudges.
Yeah, exactly.
From time
he's
to
having
time.
fun with it.
Actually, I almost wonder if he has the broadcast up. I think he's trying to show off some of the logos, because he's
that
trying.
Might be. Yeah, it's true. He's turning it every which way but loose, isn't he? That's fun. Of course, right across the top of the screen right now, that's the big logo we want you to be paying attention to. Give.polychondritis.org. And please do. Please do. It's autoimmune disorders. It's amazing. I was talking at the beginning about how it's 3 out of about every million people suffer from relapsing polychondritis. But it is an autoimmune disorder. And here's the staggering number. When you take all of the autoimmune disorders, it's 1 in 5 people suffer from them. And the great thing about this fundraising and all of this money for research, yes, it goes to help find and determine the cause and a treatment and a cure for relapsing polychondritis. But it's almost like, with a racing, driver. When you start, you're in your little club racing, and then as you move up through the ladder, you've got to start bigger picturing it. And when you get up to the pro ranks, like we do here with this research and fundraising, you've got to be big picture and understand that funding all of autoimmune research will bring new developments, new discoveries, new opportunities to finding the cause and cure for RP. And that's what Race for RP and the Relapsing Polychondritis Foundation are doing now. They're really focusing on, providing not just RP, but lots of funding for other autoimmune research, because they know it'll come back and help them. And in this project, it's important to point out that because of the money being spent in RP research, working with some of the great organizations like the National Institutes of Health and so many of these other ones, they have come up with a brand new autoimmune disease that nobody had found before and that people were suffering from much like relapsing polychondritis, in the dark, because doctors didn't know what was going on. They couldn't do it, and that's called VEXAS. And that all came together through a partnership with people working on relapsing polychondritis, working on cancer research, and all of these other autoimmune disorders. And it all came good. They discovered a new disease and now can help those people. It's a massive domino effect here, and it's spectacular.
And man, you summed it all up extremely well there. But one thing that you said at the start that has really stuck with me is you mentioned that when any of these rare diseases happen to you, it's no longer a rare disease. And I feel like that is such an excellent point to make in this, because there's always the trying to convince people of, well, why should you care? Why should you donate to this cause? And that right there is the empathy of, well, you don't know if you or someone you know and love might wind up having to fight for something like this. And if you have something to spare, this is an excellent opportunity to help try and fight for this cause and help somebody's life that could be greatly affected by the research being done.
You're absolutely right, Joe. And the wonderful thing about this program and what it can achieve is you said it, when you suffer from one of these autoimmune disorders, it isn't rare to you, but let's not forget, it affects your family, right? Because if it could be debilitating, some can, even RP in the wrong scenarios can be life-threatening. So it affects your family. And one of the ways that you treat an autoimmune disorder, and like relapsing polychondritis, what it does is it takes your body's autoimmune system, which usually protects you from getting sick, and it turns it around and attacks the cartilage in your body. And obviously it can attack joint cartilage, and that can be very painful, but it can also attack your esophagus, nasal cavities. It can affect breathing. It can affect a lot of things that can be life-threatening. And up until recently, the only thing doctors could do, because even when they realized, all right, something is attacking this, the only thing they could do to stop it was to pump you full of massive doses of steroid. And you know what that can do. It can ruin other parts of your body, huge weight gain, fluid retention, all of that. And so it's just so huge to come up with some of these research avenues. And sadly, all of that happens through funding. And that's why we're here tonight. And so I'd sure like to see those current donation numbers ticking up quicker than they are. And maybe, I think Daniel Murad, all right, Daniel, if you have some Oceana coffee while you're enjoying some advanced sim racing in the GL liveries and Muradness scenario there, hopefully that'll get some money from all of those sponsors here, because Daniel's doing a brilliant job of highlighting them for us, isn't he?
He really is, yeah. I actually got to also meet the advanced sim racing folks over at PRI. Just incredible stuff they're doing. Got to use a new reactive pedal set over there, which was really wild, because I mean, you're used to it in a real car, but it's something else to feel it in a sim, to feel the pedals react and give feedback like they would in a real car. And it's a game changer, but fantastic stuff. Not trying to sell for them here, but
right, but no, it's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah,
the sims, I mean, and they've got the sims now on, basically, if it was a car, it'd be on a 4-post shaker rig. So you get all the car movement. You got force feedback in the wheel, so when you hit a curve, the wheel goes. Now you're saying that the pedals are starting to give you feedback. It's just stunning what's unfolding here. And I think the reason Daniel just did that, he's probably listening, and I didn't mention Muradness enough, which is his own apparel company.
Yes.
And it is some cool, cutting-edge stuff, really, really sharp. And all designed with a great sense of humor, too. So, and that pretty much defines Daniel. So I think they're anxious. They're ready to go. And obviously, they're just gritting everybody up here based on those donations and the points after that first stage. So let's keep those donations coming in, folks.
Yeah, and that number you see at the bottom, that is live. So once you donate, that will show up directly here on screen, so everybody can really see it happening. And oh, you know what? I think I realized what we're waiting for. That car that zipped by, that's Tyler Campbell. Remember, he disconnected.
Yeah.
So he's 2 laps down because the timing and scoring would still count him as 2 laps down. They're letting him cycle back around here, I'm pretty certain, and allowing him to get back into it.
Well, that's sporting, isn't it? And again, yes, we are all competitors and we can be fiercely competitive, but tonight it's about the cause. And so letting him get in and be a part of this is great. And I'm glad to see Jordan Taylor and that Rodney Sandstorm does race car driving racing team is back and in the white, so he'll be back in it as well. And remember, it's if you came in, as you take a look at these points now after stage 1, if you came in and you're the pro driver or the top-rated iRacing driver, you have to run the first 2 stints. Then it's the AM drivers, if you will, the non-pros, that'll run the final 2. And right now, there's Moradness. And I'm really curious to see where that Fundraise 'em up ends up here after the second stage.
Absolutely. And for those curious, it is just the top 15 that score points at the end of each stage. So you can wind up scoring a goose egg, unfortunately, if you find yourself in the bottom 5. Also, you mentioned Jordan Taylor. They're cycling him around as well, since he went a lap down on top of things, so getting him into it. The only thing that makes me sad is that we don't have an onboard camera. We've seen a few of them already, but we don't have one from Jordan, because I would love to see him actually dressed up as Rodney Sandstorm here as he's racing.
Oh, that would be absolutely brilliant. That would be brilliant. And he would, he is. Because I'm sure, he is a master of social media, isn't he? So I'm sure he's sitting there driving, and I'm sure he's got somebody taking some videos, and there'll be some laughs to come.
So getting some information behind the scenes about the Fundraise Them Up challenge. I'm being told it's really tight at the top. Roadshagger Pro and Joe Racing and Two Brothers teams are all 3 very close, almost tied at the top. I'm not getting exact numbers, but they described it as almost tied. So if you're a fan of any of those teams, if you donate, you might make the difference on the competition as well as in someone's life. So make sure and use this QR code we've got on the screen. Donate to your favorite team, and they will be they could potentially be re-grid on the next stage thanks to your donation.
And that is the key, obviously. The donations are paramount, but if you help your team get that extra little bit, they can get that 3 grid position bump at the start of the 3rd stage. And just hit that that QR code, or go to give.polychondritis.org, and there they go. They're letting them cycle around here. And I got to tell you, iRacing, they do a pretty good job of marketing. I'm looking at that big screen in the background, and there is a teaser video for iRacing that's just playing there. That's pretty cool.
All the virtual fans getting plenty of that throughout the whole race. There we go. Getting the cameras pointed at that one. I believe that's been the same video they've had for a couple years. I'm curious if they're ever going to update it with something new. It's a very cool video, but I think it's due for a little bit of a refresh at this stage. Our director, Ryan, is getting a nice big zoom on that.
I was just looking at those donuts, and the Concourse Club has a racing series, and one of their members is a guy named Elio Castro Neves, and he won the first race. And down at the exit of turn 1, he left a big series of donuts in an area that they would normally paint. And I said, really? You're going to paint that? I said, when Elio Castro Neves leaves you some Brazilian pastry, you don't clear the table. And to my delight, I got down there for the 2nd round, and all those donuts are still there.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that cool?
I guess they're going to have to paint the donuts so that they stay.
There you go.
Just
yeah.
Immortalize them. It looks like they are ready to go now, taking off behind the pace car. They are letting both Tyler and Jordan try and catch up, but they weren't going to try and wait until they actually caught the back of it. They're going to have to hustle to get to the tail of the train. But the good news is the pace car is moving at a swift 25 miles an hour right now. So I think they should have enough time.
Well, and the nice thing is, obviously, even if they get caught out a little bit here, there are 2 more stages where they will be able to bunch up again. But yeah, you would like to have them much more up into the mix here for sure. So, but it looks like we are getting ready. This is a really tricky turn here, this turn 19. As you come out of that triple apex right, as you turn into 19, in real life racing, you don't necessarily see that apex, so it can be really tricky, and that's why you see a lot of cars running wide there. But it's like the pace car's in, Joe.
It is, and Daniel Morad's going to be leading the way. He looked to be one of the quickest last time. Is that going to repeat itself, or will Westphal be able to fight him for it? They're off the corner, looking for the call. Since this is a manual yellow, it's not. There it is. Now we're getting the call over race control. Green flag is out. Morad went defensive very, very quickly. Westphal is holding on to him down to the inside, forcing him to go as far down as he can go, and that's going to pinch him off to the inside. Will this give Jeff the chance to out-accelerate him off the corner? Doesn't look like it.
No, that was a great piece of defensive heads-up driving by Morad. As he saw Jeff swing out, he exited turn 1 right where Jeff was trying to go. So Jeff had to counter and try and pop to the outside, and he just didn't have enough exit speed. The guy who got the restart, though, is now up into 3rd, Danny Clark, in that Jared's Basement Racing. He restarted in 5th. He was 4th before they got up into the entrance of 1, and 3rd coming out. Absolutely great start in that red car right there. That looks like to be one of the Porsches, and he absolutely nailed that restart.
He's hot on the heels of Westphal now, so it is Audi, Porsche, 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 your top 4. Looks like that is a good car to have today. Even with the balance of performance, you're going to see some strengths around this track, and it's a big slipstream for both Daniel Clark and Chris Beets.
Absolutely, getting a really nice tow here, and in the background, I think that might be, is that Jeremy Clark in the Tokyo Drift, that blue car, trying to make a pass as they head now the field down into turn 12 and now into what they call the stadium complex. Little contact there, everybody hanging on to it, so nice job there. And look at that, we are up to almost $22,500. Thanks, everybody, as we hop on board now with Robert Wickens. And I don't think there's a more inspirational story in motorsports possibly ever than what we have with Robert Wickens.
I agree. It's been absolutely incredible to watch his progress as we ride on board with him. He's chasing Cameron Martineau in front of him currently. He just passed Ryan Lewis in that stadium section, getting himself a few more spots, and they come onto the main straight. Big checkup in front of him and a spin even, and that's going to be another car that they go by. That was Nicky Hayes.
Yeah, he was right in that mix, sitting in 4th. And I don't know whether he got a tap or whether that was just, even with traction control, you exceed the limits of physics, and the car is going to go around, and he's going to drop way down in the order right now. That's a shame because he had been absolutely flying up there. Let's take a look at the replay, and, he actually nudged the car right in front of him. And let's see what happens at turn in here. Turns in. Oh, he did get tapped, I think.
Yeah, someone from behind. I couldn't quite make out who it was. Maybe just got a little bit of contact there. Let's watch it from on board.
See if we can pick out the number on this. Oh, that's Jeremy Clark in the Tokyo Drift car. Just tinked him, just enough that around he went.
Yeah, I think the car was on the limit, and unfortunately, there was nothing else to give as they come up and over the crest now. We got a little bit of a battle farther back. This is onto the backstretch we're looking at. This is still between Jared's Basement Racing, Road Shagger, and Scuderia Corsa fighting for that second position, Carbon, and down to the inside. Holy cow, Daniel Clark chucks the car in. Eventually it grips, but by that point, Jeff is already back by.
Yeah, and I think had Daniel tried to continue that route and got in front, he would have had a track limit violation, so he did the right thing and didn't try and force his way out. But look at Beets. Oh, big move to the inside, trying to get down underneath Clark, and he had it done, but the problem was he couldn't clear him off, and he now got stuck on the wrong side into that next sequence of corners, and that's what that stadium section does. It is a real hair puller in terms of frustration. you get the perfect line into one of them, but then it all goes the opposite direction, and it's tough to clear it out. But the thing is, those three right now, the battling they're doing on has allowed Daniel Morad to just skip off to about 2 and almost 3 second lead right now as we hop on board with Ryan Lewis sitting back in the 10th spot behind Wickens.
Yeah, so battling here in the mid-pack. Wickens, I believe, actually had a little bit of contact last lap as well. Coming through this very corner is in front of him. Jeremy Clark still fighting with Cameron Martineau. They go wheel to wheel down the hill into the S's, but Martineau will come out ahead.
Yeah, and that, this track is so wide in so many spots, Joe, that when you square up, somebody can then set you up for the next corner. And that was a great counterpunch move by Cameron Martineau in the ST Racing Esports car as he's fighting his way up as we go back on board with Chris Beets. And Chris is just being absolutely relentless here. Oh, and a slowdown there clearly for Daniel Clark, and that allows Beets to come right on through.
So that promotes him up into third position, about where he found himself last time too, which is interesting because I checked and he was one of those drivers that was regrid towards the back. So he made an incredible charge in that first stint, but he seems to stall out up at the front as we check in with Jordan Taylor. Let's see, where is he right now? He is 20th.
Yeah, and as you said, I don't think he ever quite caught the back of the field. So right now, he just has to give it pure welly at this stage and get after it here as we hop on board with Tom Schrage, who's sitting in the 12th spot. He restarted in 6th, but has drifted back just a little bit at this stage. The Team USA scholarship team.
Yeah, Harold Gottsacker in front of him. Harry, I guess I should call him. Yeah. I was looking at iRacing, and that's what he's listed as in there. In front of him, a little bit of a try from Robert Wickens on Ryan Lewis, who got overtaken by Ryan down through the S's when he hit one of those inside apex curbs a little too hard down to the inside. Charge tries his best, but unfortunately doesn't quite work. Gottsacker holds him back. Now they approach the front stretch, one of the better places to try and set up a pass.
On board with Stefan Wilson, dives down to the inside of Alex Prima. And is that Prima that went around?
That's Wilson, unfortunately.
That is. So Prima not giving him any quarter, and it cost Wilson there.
Yeah, I think maybe Wilson just overshot a little bit and got turned in the end. So we come back to Chris Beets now as we watch from his onboard. He is filling the mirrors of the number 2 Carbon machine. Jeff Westphal has lost touch with Daniel Morad. It is now a battle for best of the rest.
And just Beets has been absolutely relentless. And every time he's had something go a little bit awry, it doesn't take him long to come right back after it. But look at how far down the road Moradness team is and Danny Morad. But I'll tell you what, these 2 Porsches are having one heck of a race. And Clark in another Porsche, it hasn't taken him much time to run those guys back down again. I mean, he just made up a large chunk, and he's less than a second away from Beets at this stage.
He's going to be a thorn in their side before they know it. But will they try and battle down into turn 12 before he gets there? It'll certainly help him catch up if they do. A little bit deep into the corner for Westphal. He knows it. He covers the inside of the next corner. Could we see a good cutback here in the stadium section from Beets?
Now Beets I remember he tried that move before and ended up on the wrong part of the track for the next corner. So I thought he was going to try and work the outside. Now he's going to try and square up, come underneath. But Westphal just covered that absolutely perfectly. Now into this triple apexer, you just want to hit that middle apex at least, and then use that last apex as your guide coming out. Is this going to be our checkered flag for this stage? I think or do we have one more lap?
It looks like race control is getting on the radio now to let them know. Good catch there, Craig. We're having so much fun. We had lost track, and Morad absolutely stomped that one with the Carbon car finishing just in second. Or are we going one more lap? Because it doesn't look like they're slowing.
No, I think we might be going one more here.
Indeed, and a swap of positions temporarily. Beats tries to pass Westfall, but cutting right back past him, the number 2 takes P2 once again. And now Daniel Clark is closing up on him as we check in with Daniel Morads on board. And there's one of those full motion rigs you were talking about. I thought I saw it shifting around for him.
Yep. It's a hydraulic post on each corner. So there it is. You can see it. You clock a curb. You get up onto a force feedback wheel, and you talk about add those pedals, and that is going to be a serious ride. That's a serious sim there, isn't it? 3 wraparound screens, the data screen up top, and he is giving it a ride wearing those Moradness gloves.
Yeah, I have to say I'm a bit jealous of that setup. It's definitely impressive compared to mine, but
that's pretty sweet.
This is also a bit of a lonely spot for him, not just because of sitting in the darkness, but there you can see nobody around him, a gap of about 4 seconds. It's much more a battle for second place. We're checking in with Clark, sitting in 4th. This is his last chance. He's got to get up on the wheel here to pass these 2.
He is closing. He's made up a lot of ground. And the other guy that we're keeping an eye on, just a couple of seconds behind this trio, is Ricky Taylor in the AI Ghost Racing car. He's done a really nice job of just staying with it here. There he is. And of course, Ricky, driver of extremely high regard. And this year, he and his brother are going to be back together again with their dad's team, Wayne Taylor Racing, with Andretti Autosport, running in different cars. It'll become a 2-car program. But he is a IMSA champion, multiple winner here. As we're on board with John Miller and looking back, and John Miller, that number 3 Scuderia Corsa machine, he is a wicked fast driver as well. Boy, this is a great scrap, isn't it?
Speaking of wicked fast, Robert Wickens, who unfortunately accidentally turns him around, and a good catch there by Clark to get the car facing the right way. But as they cross the line, I do believe that is going to be it for this session. At least I thought it was going to be this lap. Maybe we're going on for another one. As there we go. Now we're getting the white flag from race control. So this time around for sure is going to be the last lap. At least for this stage. Remember, the other interesting thing here is they're going to swap out the drivers. We'll see differences in pace as they switch out for their teammates.
Absolutely, and this is when it can get really interesting because, you know, if you're the top-rated driver in your team, certainly if you're a pro racer, whether it be in real world or in iRacing, you know, you guys, you know, we're seeing it here. It's really good racing, but ultimately they're all racing at fairly similar lap times. Now we get the AM drivers in, and that can change things up just a little bit here. And boy, I'll tell you, Clark has gone around Beats. He is on a comeback charge trying to get through on Westfall. And they apparently decided to extend this stage by 2 laps. So it gives everybody a little bit more racing time. Look at Westfall protect. And let's see if Clark can figure out a way through. Did he roll enough exit speed? He's trying to pop to the outside. Beats going with him here, Joe.
Gonna see if he can get that nose in, but it looks like he's being fed out unless he's aggressive under the brakes here, coming
Watch
down
for this
to the
move by Clark.
hairpin.
I thought he was going to try that.
He's going to get into the side of him, but it's a drag race. And if you want to help them, don't forget, one last call to fundraise them up. They're on your screen after they cross the line. This is over. They're side by side around the triple right-hander, and it narrowly goes to Westfall.
Clark. Oh, and he's going to try and scoot underneath, and he got, I don't know, I think he spun then got tipped. I don't think that was caused by Beats. But Clark, that's a serious move, hanging around the outside around that triple apex right, and he darn near pulled it off. So, all right, stage 2 is in the books. And Barney in this, because we're doing our own number of lap counts, I don't think Barney is active at this stage. Pardon the pun. So that's why we're a little confused at it, but they obviously decided to go to 7 laps instead of 5 in this one.
Yeah, so slightly different from what was anticipated, and Daniel obviously won that one, but second went to Westfall with Beats in third, and then Jared's Basement Racing sees Clark eventually get rid of that lump of coal in his car and get back out there on fourth position across the line. He almost lost it to Ricky Taylor, who was charging hard, but a good catch kept him in that fourth spot.
Yeah, it was a great recovery by Clark, wasn't it? Get that thing turned around and going again here. So, yeah, Taylor on the move. I'm curious about Alex Prima, who started way at the back of this stage, has fought his way up into 12th. Jackson Lee, who had a problem mid-first stage after running at the front, has worked his way back up into 13th. Nicky Hayes in that beautiful green Mercedes for Madsen Motorsports, who was running in that top 5 and had that spin. Now finishing 14th, just ahead of Stefan Wilson. Thomas Strage there in the Team USA scholarship entry. Want to say a big shout out to Jeremy Shaw, who is the mind and the energy behind Team USA that does so much for American racers and moving them on. Jeremy Clark, who was competitive early, has slipped back a bit. And now we'll see. This is the opportunity for Tyler Campbell and Jordan Taylor once again to get a wave around and get back on the end of that lap. But it looks like, are we starting our lap? No, he's just, I think that safety car is just moving up enough to give these guys some room while race control tells everybody where you should be lining up.
Exactly.
I think then they pit and do the driver change, don't they, Joe?
Yes, that should be how this one goes. Yeah, they can't back up out there, so he has to just pull forward. If you back up too far in iRacing, the sim will automatically disqualify you. So don't do that if you ever find yourself in that situation. While we wait for them to sort it out, we're going to head to break here on the Race for RP eRacing event. Don't forget, we have another half of this one to come, so don't go away.
My name is Nancy. I'm a patient with relapsing polychondritis, or RP. RP is an autoimmune disease that attacks cartilage and, if untreated, can be fatal. To drive awareness and accelerate research, we established the Race for RP. Success on the track has opened doors to world-class healthcare providers, researchers, and autoimmune disease experts, leading to groundbreaking discoveries and new hope.
We are driving awareness and accelerating research in the Race for RP.
In the film, Neil Langberg tells us that as the family and the foundation began to learn more about relapsing polychondritis, what they discovered was that the last known research was in the 1930s. As the film will show you, we have come a long way in the last 10 years. But the foundation is on the cusp of some groundbreaking findings. We do need your financial support. Thank you.
It's hard to put into words what relapsing polychondritis is. It's just devastating. That's what it is. It's devastating.
Relapsing polychondritis is a systemic inflammatory disease that affects multiple organs.
Your immune system attacks cartilage in your body. And as you can imagine, you have cartilage everywhere in your body.
Autoimmune diseases are discreet, and a lot of people are suffering silently.
It is the ultimate nightmare.
We had to figure out who's doing what. So who are the key players? I had to start from scratch.
There's not a lot of data out there on the best treatments for relapsing polychondritis.
People are less inclined to speak out because they don't feel supported.
That's really our primary role, is to validate the things that they've been struggling with. We need investigators from around the world working together.
Our goal is to try to give them their life back.
We're racing now, so why not the Race for RP? Printed up shirts and hats and decals. How else to build awareness?
I can put Race for RP on my suit. You know, I'll gladly wear your hat.
Oh yes, we're on board, definitely, and you see it everywhere.
Some patients who had no interest in motorsports, but now all of a sudden it's like, that's my car. You know, that's my driver.
What better way to spread it than to put the logo on a car?
It gives us all hope that they're doing something.
The research that we're doing is helping us to learn more about the disease and then develop effective therapies.
We're going to achieve that through multidisciplinary, multi-specialty research.
We do research because it's our responsibility. We need to do better.
It's recognized the relationship between the autoimmune disorder and cancer. It is providing us this innovative and the right environment to foster our ideas.
As a community, we think that we can do a ton of good by gaining even more support for our research and more support for these initiatives to better diagnose patients, to find better treatments.
We've come halfway. Let us go together. We'll partner and go forward. We can do more.
Every dollar counts.
If we figure out RP, the dominoes will fall.
What this means is that all of the work has mattered.
Without the RP Foundation, my husband wouldn't be alive today.
So how far have we come in these 10 years? Of the many lessons learned, the foremost has been that purpose is powerful. Purpose, even when originating from pain, can bring people together to create change. We are determined to change the outcome for autoimmune and RP patients with your help.
Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas. The race for RP eRacing events is halfway through at this stage. We're swapping drivers out. We're getting the AMs in the car, and we're going to do this all over again. And of course, in our efforts to raise money, they've also had the Fundraise Them Up Challenge, which can help give a car extra positions here on the restart. The winner, Greg, was no contest. Wickawar Racing with Wickens and Roy Medawar raised $5,260. The runner-up, Scuderia Corsa, had $536.
Wow. That, yeah.
Stomped him.
Stomped him big time. And that's cool. That means they're going to get a 3-position bump when we get back to racing here. And great for them. Obviously, we saw Wickens have that little bit of a spin earlier, so that is going to help out this guy, his co-driver, Roy Medawar, as they get going. And, you know, while we're doing this driver change, in that video that we just played, I had the true honor of interviewing and talking to a number of people in that. And I wanted to just mention very quickly here, you know, we saw the two doctors, Rashmi Shanagal and David Beck, that were getting interviewed, and they are just instrumental in this, for lack of a better term, cross-pollination of research, and you know, being able to take things from studies in other autoimmune or even in unrelated things like cancer research, but they started to see markers that they were seeing in certain forms of cancer, and they were seeing it in the blood of people that had RP. And so they started to, you know, pursue that effect as well. Dr. Peter Gray, I had a chance to talk to him on the phone, and just a remarkable you know, person, and one of those people that's got the gift of taking the really technical medicalese, if you will, and making it very simply understandable. And to me, one of the most valuable people is Marcy Ferrata. She is a doctor who herself suffers from RP. And once she figured out what was going on and what she had, at that point, I think she had been studying in a different direction, was already a medical doctor, but in a different direction, went back and did a brand new doctorate study in immunology to come back and fight for people with that suffer from RP. And it's that kind of dedication and fight, along with Nancy Lynn and her husband, Neil Langberg, who, you know, Nancy suffers from, and we talked about how the families get involved. And all of these people that are so desperately suffering from it, desperately looking for the cures, and then to have that kind of a medical team. And I went to the NIH for a symposium they did, and it just literally blew my mind, Joe, you know, to see all of these disparate things, and, you know, how much of it was being spent on autoimmune research, and now that absolutely virtually unknown relapsing polychondritis now had an opportunity for a presentation there because of the awareness and the education that has been done by the Relapsing Polychondritis Foundation and Race for RP, and the fact that their funding that they're raising going to various different places, the Penn School of Medicine and New York Cancer Center, all of these things now are starting to come back and be recognized as opportunities, not just for relapsing polychondritis, but for the greater autoimmune affected community. and finding help for each and every one of them. And on the way of this long endurance race, being able to, for each of these teams, like RP, if we're using the analogy, like rheumatoid arthritis, like, well, so many different autoimmune disorders, finding something for each of the teams that are in this long race to maybe help the people that are suffering from it. That's why your donations are so important here today, folks, and always. That's why we keep give.polychondritis.org up on the screen. And when we show you that QR code, anything you can do to make some donations here before the end of this race, just trust me, it's going to go to an amazing cause.
Absolutely. The most important thing of tonight is not who wins this race, but who wins in the battle against polychondritis, relapsing polychondritis. And honestly, it's so encouraging to hear how networked things are becoming, much like these drivers and what technology has done here for racing, allowing us to race one another in real time across the world. It feels like the internet age is making these battles more possible, make us have incredible inroads. Like you said, everything is so interconnected, and just sharing that knowledge. I got to think it has to be, we in this profession, Greg, we get to meet some stars with racing, taking us to these cool places and getting to meet these fantastic sport figures. But how cool must it have been for you to get to talk to people, to know that these are people that are so smart. They're literally considered the best in the world, the most knowledgeable in the world on this one subject. How rare that must be to get to meet someone like that.
It really was. It was so special, just to hear, their level of not just knowledge, obviously, but dedication and immersion, total immersion. And their goal is a simple one. It's to alleviate the suffering of people that have to suffer from autoimmune disorders. And like you said, on this, certainly nationwide reach. And that's one of the cool things about this digital age with the amount of data that can be transferred so quickly. We see it here in iRacing, and we see it at a real-world racing event at the top levels when they're literally streaming data from the track to a company, to the World Racing headquarters, maybe in England, and they look it over, send it back, here's the changes on the car. Well, that's what they're doing now, real time, in this autoimmune and relapsing polychondritis research, is something they discover, say, at the New York School of Medicine. They can send it right to the Penn School of Medicine or right to NIH or wherever, and be able to say, look what we found. This looks like it may be a marker that could help you guys. And everything just happens now far more quickly. And but it had to start somewhere. And it's amazing. And I would encourage you, if you go to polychondritis.org, just the polychondritis.org, when you go to that page, if you're opening it, not already on it, but just opening it, if you wait a second, this big video or this link pops up to an hour-long documentary, and it is fascinating. And it covers this whole story of the journey that has been taken here. And it's just really, really remarkable what we're seeing unfold. And it's called The Race of Our Lives is the name of that documentary. And it talks about the people that are suffering from it. It talks about the people that care for them and love them. It talks about the doctors that are trying to let them know you're not alone. We now understand this. We don't have a cause for it or a cure, but we're working toward it, and we can help you. And I mean, we talked about it. When you're suffering from this and you're suffering in the dark, it's terrifying. And just the joy, and you'll see it in this documentary, when these patients now go, I think it's Penn State has a relapsing polychondritis treatment and research center. They do both. And when people walk in there and everybody knows what RP is, for starters, and then understand what it's doing to your body and how it can affect things, just the relief that they feel is off the hook. And it plays out in that documentary. And I tell you, folks, you watch that and you're going to want to open your pockets up, because you'll have to, because that's what your open heart is going to be telling you to do. So please check it out.
I love documentaries for one thing, so I'm marking this one down because I want to go and watch that once we're done here and give that a look. but we've also gotten some interesting information about some of these donations we've had so far.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Two Brothers Racing has the most different donors, apparently. They've had 23 different donors and have totaled overall $1,456 for them. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Ryan Giebler coming out of the pit lane as the drivers are getting ready and gritting up. The other thing, talking about being on the cutting edge of technology, don't forget that you can actually watch this on podiumesports.com. So if you are tired of having to watch either through Twitch or YouTube or some of these other formats, this is not an embed, this is directly to podiumesports.com, right on their website. You can watch this race live. So go ahead and check that out over there if you want to tune in through their official website here on Podium Esports, as we see the cars now weaving their way through the S's section. These are the drivers that are being coaxed out of pit lane and told where they need to grit up on the backstretch.
All right, some of the cars look like they are already queued up and getting ready to go here. And again, there are stage points for each of the stages. You get 20 for the win, all the way down to 1 for 15. And we now have had 2 stages, so they're gritting up based on those 2 stage scenarios here. And not a surprise to see Daniel Morad and that Moradness team right up at the top of things. But Peregrine Racing, the Carbon with Peregrine car, Nolan Siegel now has taken over in that car. And on the Moradness team, Giuliano Ramanulio has taken over as well. And we're going to see how those guys deal with it here. Carl Modoff and the Rochagger Racing Esports entry now, the number 61. In the 17, replacing Robert Wickham is Roy Medawar. And there in that car, Freddie De La Rosa now takes over the number 8, the Jared's Basement Racing car. Mike Wimmer takes over from Ricky Taylor in the A1 Ghost Racing car. And there's a particular driver I want to talk about starting 9th. It's the number 3 Scuderia Corsa car that John Miller started. Well, John is the coach for Lisa Clark in Ferrari Challenge. And Lisa Clark will be taking over. And under John's tutelage, Lisa has absolutely blossomed. She was always pretty quick. But I believe this past year, she got her first outright win in her class in Ferrari Challenge competition. And not only is she running the full North American series, but she also is sort of doing a bucket list tour this past year, where she went in off North American rounds and raced at some of the great tracks around the world, and said it was just the most amazing season for her. And she's one of these people that very early on, Joe, immediately asked for the hat, asked for decals, has them on her Ferrari Challenge race car all over, and is a proud, she's not an official ambassador, but she is as motivated and inspirational and committed to it as any of the actual official ambassadors. And plus, on top of that, and being a wicked fast driver, she is just an absolutely wonderful person. And it's so great to have her as a part of this series tonight.
Yeah, can't agree enough. And you reminded me, talking about her heading over to the European tracks to get to experience some of the classics. Just makes me think of one of the other drivers we have out here, Neil Verhagen, and the number 38 ST Racing Esports. Kind of a funny story, because he came into SRO this past summer and was racing with Samantha Tan, came over from Europe racing for BMW, and was a real hot shoe. And you'd think with the name and whatnot, and with him not having much experience in the North American tracks, it's some European driver is Dutch, it sounds like a Dutch name or whatever. No, he's an American. Just he went over and raced in Europe and just didn't know the American tracks. So kind of a wild situation for him. But I can tell you, he is incredibly fast. You'll have to watch out for him here on this restart as we get ready to get going, because that safety car is going to be peeling in. And these drivers, we have to remember, have not been around each other like the others were during the first 2 stints. They are now going to have to get familiar. They may have a bit in the practice, but we don't know who has been able to race against one another here in the sim recently. They come out of the final turn. Who is going to be able to adapt quickly as we get ready for the restart, getting nice and lined up? And there is the green flag. My goodness, there is somebody not getting going because you can see them fanning out, trying to find position, almost 6 wide. In some places, I can see them 5 wide coming up into the corner. Are we actually going to get through this?
I'll tell you, Roman Julio doing a nice job. And I think that was Carl Madoff, maybe. No, it was it Freddie De La Rosa, the red car down to the inside. But the Peregrine car just got touched. Somehow, Nolan Siegel saved it, but I thought he was going to spear off and have a big incident, and he managed to hang on to it. But I think he got a slowdown as a result from going off course, too. Boy, that's salt in the wound.
Yeah, at least he's still on the racetrack. It was, I believe, Verhagen on that first corner who got tipped around facing backwards. Unfortunately, they come around to turn 11 now, getting ready for the backstretch. And Daniel Morad's teammate is picking up where he left off. 3 wide now down into the corner, going in deep. Sullivan somehow gets through, but not so for Modoff, who gets spun to the inside.
Yeah, and I think, did he get caught out? That's the Peregrine, Carbon Peregrine car. 2 other cars having off in the background as well. So a little bit of chaos here in the early going at this stage.
Yeah, that is Scully and Crone. Unfortunately, they're going to get the cars pointed the right way and get back going. This is a frantic start to this stage.
Yeah, absolutely insane. And like you said, you know, they're not necessarily familiar with what each of the drivers, their sort of tendencies. Nice move for a minute there by Freddie De La Rosa, getting around on Jack Sullivan. And now it looks like he's going to be able to make it stick. But look at Ryan Thomas in the number 47, the white Porsche, trying to make a move as well. He had to, because Jason Allen in the 71, I love this name, the old men of SCR, right there as well, having a battle. This is just some, like you said, crazy stuff. And I did want to mention Courtney Crone. She's our second lady in the field. And of course, in the IMSA prototype championship, she has run an LMP3 car and had been very quick in that as well. So it's nice to have her out here and running just outside of the top 10, sitting in 11th right now.
LMP3 is another car that you can actually race here in iRacing, and very similar in pace, at least lap time in most places, to these GT3 cars. So isn't too much of a pace difference, as Titus Sherlock is certainly getting a face full of cars in front of him. That's Thomas, Allen, Sullivan all squabbling for position.
Really close quarters stuff here. Yeah, this is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th at this stage. And yeah, I mean, all 3 of these guys, and the more that they juke around, obviously Sullivan is going to be able to maybe eke away. And if these 3, they've got some speed here, if they just sort of run line astern here, I think they can get to Sullivan and run him down.
So Titus gets by Thomas. And now he's sizing up Allen in front of him, and in fact, he's going to go for the move. Allen gives him the space, tries to cut back on him, and now it's a drag race.
It is a drag race, but I think the 71 there of Allen, I think, well, he did get just enough. He's getting a little side draft, and this straight is so long. It's a full kilometer long, essentially, and he got a nice side draft there, and that's going to give him position. I thought when he squared up, he had to check up a little bit, but he was able to still make it work. So executed a nice pass, but a little slow on the exit of turn 12, and to the outside right away. Again, goes the number 12 of Titus Sherlock.
Thomas now hot on his heels, coming into the stadium section, switching back to the left-hand hairpin and trying to get the throttle down just a little bit better for Allen in front of them. Checking in with Stephen Agakani as he works his way around the triple apexer, holding on tight to the back of that Porsche. Can he get something maybe into the final corner, or is he going to wait for turn 1?
I don't think he's going to be quite close enough. That'd be coming from a long way back to make that move. You know, Steve is a fascinating story to me as well. Had the chance to call him when he first started racing in World Challenge, and showed up with a West Coast-based team out of the Portland area, and you could tell immediately that he got it, and he has developed into a really solid AM driver, gentleman driver, if you will. And right now, heaping some serious pressure on Gregory Ford III in that Monday Night Motorsports entry right in front.
making sure to keep him honest. Different lines between them, of course, different makes of cars. And that Mercedes, he races it in real life and has gotten very used to how comfortable it is over the curbs. He's using plenty of them in comparison to the Porsche, which seems to want to try and stay away from them, as we got a problem with Karl Modoff, it looks like. Not sure what happened here.
I wonder if that was a slowdown, because he seems to be right back to speed again. I wonder if he had a corner cut.
I think he got into the back of Giebler. It looks like a little bit of contact. We're going to see on the replay. Oh, and there was some side-by-side racing before that, so there was already action happening.
Well, that's... Oh, he got that big orange, what do they call them? Humpback curb. Sausage curb. There we go. And it just launched that Porsche skyward, and that snapped him right here. Watch this. He's going to collect it sideways, right in front. Well, I'll tell you how those other two didn't hit him. That was some great evasive driving.
Great heads up on their part, especially with how close they were. We're going to watch one more angle on it. This will really give you a feeling of what this car went through. Wow. Bicycle in it, unfortunately. And
how about that reaction by Nolan behind him there?
Certainly, just, I mean, split-second decision-making in that moment, and he made the right choice, and that has kept him in the race and still moving. It is still Romagnolo who is leading in the number 70 right now. We're checking back in with Sherlock once again. A battle for fourth place, the number 71 of Allen just in front of him.
And you know, how great a name in general and how great a racing name is Titus Sherlock.
I was thinking about that. I could make some jokes, but I'm sure he's gotten a million of them by now.
I'm sure he has. I just think it's a great name. If he's not going to be a car racer, a free safety in pro football would be another good spot for a name like that. I love it.
That is good, yeah. The Jordan Peele sketches come to mind on that one, but Mikkel Miller.
Exactly.
Mikkel Miller here also coming up the main straight. This is with Wickawar Motorsports of Roy Medawar trying to run away. Remember that 17 regridded a little bit farther up. They had a bad start to this run. And kind of lost all that they had gained with that Fundraise Them Up challenge that gained them 3 spots. Titus Sherlock is going to squeeze down to the apex of turn 11, and can he out-accelerate him down the backstretch? That's going to be key here.
Yeah, he actually made that work, got a nice exit. I think it was because he surprised Jason Allen a little bit, and Allen had to wait to turn in, and it kind of nulled all of his momentum. But I got to give Jason credit. When Titus made that move, I think at that moment, Jason was about to turn in. He had enough track awareness to see Titus coming and just open the wheel for a second, because otherwise they would have hit, and they probably would have both lost a lot of spots. So better to give up one, and even with damage off, you could still lose 4 or 5 spots. So that's some savvy racecraft right there by Jason Allen.
Sticking with him as they come to the end of the lap now. 12 laps to go overall, but let's not forget we're looking for the 5 to go, we think anyways. They have changed that somewhat. Here's what the points look like after that second stage, and obviously Moradin is still leading it with a perfect score so far, having won both of the first stages. They're on course for taking the third one as well, so they're sitting pretty.
Yeah, they are, but I'm telling you here, I'm watching Freddie De La Rosa. He has been, they are running so fast. Romagnolo and De La Rosa both running 2:08 flats. It's that close, but for a couple of laps, Freddie De La Rosa was nipping away a 10th here, a 10th there. It's not a lot, but it just shows he's got some really good pace. And if Romagnolo makes one little mistake, obviously Freddie is going to be right there.
And we've seen tonight, mistakes can be easy to make. You talked about how this is such a medley of a circuit. It certainly took a lot of the very tricky parts of other tracks, and it's already bit a few of our competitors tonight. So definitely 1.5 seconds could disappear in just a blink of an eye. Mike Wimmer, in the meantime, fighting for 8th with Aga Khani just in front of him, using up the corner exit off of turn 9.
That's the A1 Ghost Racing entry. He took over from Ricky Taylor, so big shoes to fill there, but he's sticking right with it here. And looking down to the inside, can't quite get it done there. And that's the thing, when you sort of peek to the inside going into turn 11, once again, and you hear me say it a lot, but that tightens that radius up. You turn in on a tighter angle, which means you just can't pick up the throttle as soon. And as you can see, he just did not have enough distance in that straight as a result to get a toe that could take him by. And Agakani right now, just, the old adage, sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and he's just running really smooth, fast lines.
He is indeed, as we got a spin in front of them, and it looks like that is Ford who's running away, but it's Thomas. Thomas for the Pro and Joe Racing, unfortunately, going to lose at least one spot. No, coming together with Mike Wimmer. Is he going to keep it out of the wall? No, he bangs into it.
Well, there it just healed, but you can see he lost a couple of spots maybe. Oh, and look at this. This is De La Rosa. We talked about that one little bobble maybe, and that last lap, De La Rosa went 1.3 seconds quicker than Romagnolo, and he's got a nose ahead. Romagnolo has position here, Joe. They are side by each here, and he's got him. What a pass. What a lap by Romagnolo, or by De La Rosa to get him.
Looked like Giuliano maybe got a little bit squirrely there coming down the hill. Wonder if the curb maybe upset the car. I know the previous Audi didn't really like to get on the curbs much. Look at this, though. He is still trying to see if he can get it back right away as he clatters the inside apex there of turn 9. Romagnolo is back on the horse.
Well, he's obviously, they've won both of the first two stages, and he was leading comfortably, so he definitely had something happen to lose 1.3 seconds there. We didn't really see what it was, but now, does he have the speed to be able to come after Freddie De La Rosa, the Jared's Basement Racing Porsche here? Boy, they are in lockstep. Let's see, he's there. Is he close enough? He's going to show the nose. He thought about it, then didn't make the commitment, and that's why he couldn't make the pass.
Oh, just about made contact with Freddie on that one. But yeah, that mistake basically gift wrapped it for the Jared's Basement Racing car. So he's going to have to fight to get it back now that he's got that position. He sticks with it down through the stadium section. The 70 has probably got Daniel in his ear, no doubt, giving him tips, giving him encouragement on what to do.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure of it. And Daniel will be calming him down right now, saying it's okay. We know we've got a good car. It's working well. So don't sweat it too much. But the interesting thing is that move into 12, you can't second guess yourself like that. You either make the move or you don't. But the minute he pulled out, then kind of, the minute he did that, you can see Freddie just turned in just a little bit. And at that point now, then it becomes way more difficult for Romagnolo to be able to sneak through and lay that pass down. Decisiveness, once you commit to the pass, is everything.
This is about 3 seconds ahead of Team USA Scholarship with Jack Sullivan currently in that car. So they've got some space, but not a whole lot. And I believe we are coming down to the end of it soon. I heard, I think it was a lap ago, 2 to go. So this might be it, this lap here. We'll see. We'll try and get some confirmation this time. That was a little wide from Freddie.
Yeah, he just missed that apex a little bit. And look at Romagnolo. That's beautiful. Oh, that was amazing. That was a late move by De La Rosa. Romagnolo went way out wide, and it looked like De La Rosa was going to float back over, and Romagnolo dove to the inside, and there was Freddie had just moved over there. I'd like to see that again. Let's see here.
This is from above.
There you can see where Freddie missed the apex a little bit, so Romagnolo's got better. He makes the move, and then Freddie goes to cover. And at the last second, Romagnolo said, well, I'm going to swing out. But Freddie, because he was so tight to the inside, had to dip the brake, and I think that's what caught Romagnolo out here. Watch here.
Yeah, and I think there was there was a second little jink there from the number 8. So
Yep.
I think that all kind of came together and wound up doing it. This is the last lap. We're getting confirmation of this stage. And once again, we're looking at a potential perfect score so far for the number 70 team as we get one last look at that incident, sadly, for second place here with just the last lap of the stage to go. The number 70 comes around the final corner just now to the finish line. That Audi has seen nothing but clear air for a good chunk and will for the start of next stage.
Yeah, this will put them 3 for 3 in the stages, but it was interesting to see that there was a car out there that was able not just to race with them, but to get around them for a little bit here, albeit due to maybe a little mistake by Romagnolo. However, that last one certainly was not. Maybe, you know, he didn't realize how soon Freddie was going to have to brake on that far left dirty side of the track. But as the rest of the field comes through, how about Team USA picking up that second spot as a result of Freddie's contact there? Titus Sherlock for Scuderia de Wilson up into 4th. Old Men of SCR with Jason Allen up into the 5th spot.
Definitely some nice movers out there. There's definitely some losers too, unfortunately, as a few of the teams started to go backwards. Pro and Joe Racing lost quite a few. Ryan Thomas down to 11th from that one, so they're going to have to try and regroup after that race. It I think got a little bit messy at the start of that last stage. So
yeah,
wonder if these drivers, now that they've had a few laps around one another, Greg, that we'll see a little bit of a cleaner start on the final stage.
I would hope so. You know, I mean, they've had a chance to race, and you know, the guys that'll be starting up front should be, you know, depending upon where they were in those previous stages, they should be okay in terms of points. So now they have a little bit of an understanding how people will ride and race here. So we'll see what happens. You know, another thing I would sure like to see happen here is before we get the start of this last stage, I'd sure like to see that donation number, folks, go up to over 30 grand. We could do it. Come on, it's just another $400, and you know, let's see if we can go to give.polychondritis.org and see if we can crack those numbers up just a little bit. And while we are getting this stage set up, I want to give a big shout out to John Morley, who has been working, I can't imagine how hard he's been working behind the scenes, coming up with this new race format. And he's basically created everything to do with this race on behalf of Race for RP. Is one of their absolute ambassador drivers, and has just done an absolutely exceptional job in coordinating all of this. And he deserves a huge mention.
Yeah, a big round of applause to Race Control, everybody behind the scenes that helped make this event go off here. Because yes, it's a bit of fun, but there's a lot of organization that's needed in running a race, even a virtual one.
Oh, you bet.
And it's thankless work, frankly. So,
yeah.
So I want to give a huge thank you to everybody who has put this on, given up time to try and help raise funds and help put on a great show for us tonight. So tip of my hat to you. And I agree with Greg here. I think we did. In fact, I think it was, no, I guess it was about 6,000, the jump that we made from 16,000 to 22,000. So 2,000 more than what we did on the last jump. I think we can do that and get up to 30,000. Let's do that before this show is over, folks. So there's your challenge from me and Greg to try and get us just high enough that we can crack 30,000 to help raise for relapsing polychondritis.
Yeah, such a worthy cause, and so important here. And you know, trying to make fundraising fun here, obviously, and hope you will do that and respond accordingly here as we continue this one. You know, the other guy I want to say, I give a shout out to somebody you know well, Joe, is every time that announcer graphic comes up, there's a third face and name there, and that's Ryan, who's essentially producing this, and he's talking, it's just in our ears, and doing a great job as well.
Yeah. I've been working with Ryan for a lot of years now, and he is very diligent, and he's doing a lot of cool stuff with the camera work that we've been enjoying, giving us some great angles here of the cars. This time he's making it tricky on Giuliano. It's not Daniel this time. Trying to get in the camera because
yes,
got kind of some like drone action going on here, drifting it out to the side so we can see some more sponsors.
I like that. And apparently Ryan has, one of you has a unique cologne, from what I was
so for behind the scenes, I was at PRI with Ryan this weekend. He gave me a podium shirt that you saw on our cameras, and It's also a little bit oversized. It's a 4XL, which I am not that big. I know I'm a little heavier than I was in my 20s, but not that much.
Yeah. They could pack one of these, park one of these cars under that.
Yeah, it's a tent. But I don't know, for some reason, what Greg is referring to, it smells like someone sprayed it with cologne, and I can't figure out why. I haven't washed it yet. Hopefully that'll kind of take some of that away, but it's wrinkle releaser. I'm getting word from Ryan now. So that's the culprit. Thank you, Ryan. It doesn't smell bad. It's just very strong.
So that's what they spray in eRacing instead of champagne, huh?
We actually, we had PRI had an esports event too, and they had a podium celebration, but they didn't have champagne. And I was teasing because DJ Clark was the one announcing it. I'm good friends with him, work with him a lot, and he always, if you've never heard him do a podium ceremony, it is something else because he has not a very big guy, but he has a very big voice, and he the way he belts out "Spray the Champagne." I went to him afterwards and said, "You didn't say the thing." He said, "I can't. They didn't have champagne."
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't see you guys there because I was at PRI just for a day, mind you, but I was there. So
yeah, well, I was too. I was only there on Friday, so we may have just missed one another, unfortunately.
Yeah, it could be. Yep.
But looks like we are getting ready to go here as they take off. I don't think we had anybody to wheel back around this time, although sadly we have lost the Rodney Sandstorm car, so it is down to 19 competitors on track. And it is still the 70 who is commanding the lead, trying to take a perfect sweep. Can they do that? Or will the Jared's Basement Racing car charge back forward because they were the main threat? Or, Greg, will we see Team USA Scholarship suddenly be the one to try and steal that?
Well, Jack Sullivan in that car was really consistent in that third stage. He was running really solidly consistent laps, and when Freddie had that moment when they touched, he was there to pounce on it. Guy I might be keeping an eye on is Titus Sherlock, because he looked like he was really aggressive and willing to get after it in that Scuderia de Wilson car, and so I wouldn't count him out. And Jason Allen impressed me with his racecraft out there. So there's some guys, and let's not forget, I think Nolan Siegel in that that carbon with Peregrine Porsche that was started in the first two stints. In that third stint, he was fast, but he had that early incident and went way back and came right back up into the 8th spot. So let's see what they can do. It's about that time, Joe.
It is indeed, and the green flag is waved. Not a good start there for the 70 once again, and once again goes to the inside. Ooh. Banging doors. That was De La Rosa and Sullivan. They approach turn 1, fanning out 3 wide, diving to the inside, down 4 wide, but 2 deep there, unfortunately, for the number 8, and it is a mess behind them because of that.
Yeah, not sure. Oh, there we go. 1 car spun, and then we got 3, 4 involved. I thought Titus Sherlock, he had gone so far to the right coming up the hill, driver's right, trying to square underneath. The problem was they were 3 wide coming out of turn 1, and there was nowhere for him to go, so he ended up right where he started, sitting in the 4th spot. And we're getting a report that it was Ryan Thomas for Projo Racing that clocked that big sausage curb up there. Look at him still, I mean, side by side in the battle for 5th right now. Aga Khani and Neil Verhagen, they've been after each other already today.
And also it was Jason Allen who got turned around there on the first corner. He's still going, actually recovered quite well considering he got hit by a few cars, but like we said, no damage.
Oh. Did you see that nice pass there by Nolan Siegel in the number 2 carbon car? He squared up coming out of 11, and they are now side by side.
Yep.
He is trying to work his way up.
They're going to go wheel to wheel down into turn 12. Mode off to the inside. I've been watching him race on iRacing for a number of years, and he is not someone you want to doubt on speed as he tries to pass on Gregory Ford, but he's caught on the wrong side, at least on this apex. He'll have the inside of the second apex, and he's got a nose ahead under braking. He might actually be able to get this one done, and he does also. I know it says 7 laps to go, but we have gotten word from race control. It is actually 5 laps to go, so that is the correct number of laps for this stint. So just subtract 2 from what you saw up on the top left.
Well, that's just going to ramp up the urgency here, isn't it, for these guys that are down the order just a little bit. You know, I love the graphics on the number 4 Monday Night Motorsports car, Greg Ford, because it sure looks to me like the plaid Porsche that runs in IMSA with some of those colors on it there. It looks absolutely stellar. And Mike Wimmer, just a nice pass on Jason Allen, now up into the 9th spot in the number 10. But Titus Sherlock, there's a good look at the number 4. Just a sharp-looking car, is sitting in 7th right now. But Titus Sherlock doing a nice job. But I think, we may have lost Nolan. I think he may have spun. That's a shame.
That may have been in turn 1. Yeah, there was a lot happening there that
yes, there
we
was.
Couldn't see off screen. Even this lap, unfortunately. Another good-looking car here. As I think that's an homage to Talladega Nights. I just realized the Wonder Bread Ferrari. So here's Nolan Siegel. Was it into turn 1? This is into the final corner, and no.
He got helped by the number 4. We were just calling out the beauty of the number 4 graphics package, but Nolan Siegel will have had too much of it here.
Yeah, that Pfaff Motorsports Porsche is, whoa, that was ambitious. And
a little optimistic, I think.
Well, used a bit of another car as a brake for a moment, and he keeps it going, but didn't make any friends, unfortunately, with that move.
Well, the thing is, even in iRacing, a pass, there's a lot about a pass that requires what I call presentation. And if you're way down to the inside and the other car's way on the outside setting up, they'll never see you in their mirrors coming. And at a certain point, you're looking up through that corner. And so you've got to be willing to adjudge for that. And he just had a little bit too much speed and couldn't get it woed down and clocked him. But we still got that great battle up at the front, too, with Titus Sherlock all over the back of Jack Sullivan. And Jack is all over the back of De La Rosa. But once again, Giuliano Romagnuolo doing a superb job easing away at the front once again. Look at that lead he's built.
1.6 seconds, but that was about what it was when they nearly lost it last time. So
that's a good point.
Will he be able to keep that from happening once again up into turn 1? There you see our leader with that little bit of a gap over the Porsche of Jared's Basement Racing, Freddie De La Rosa, and Jack Sullivan, like you said, in that battle with Titus Sherlock as we hop on board the Wonder Bread Ferrari.
I'll tell you what, Giuliano just turned a 207.8, and we have had very few 207s at all. And he just turned one here, and that is why he's got that 2.5 lead right now. So doing an absolutely superb job.
So clearly he is on it and is trying to see if he can get just that little bit more speed here, knowing that it's just a couple laps to go. In fact, I believe next time by it's going to be 2 to go. Checking in with Stephen Agacani in the meantime for the battle for 6. Someone making a dive down to the inside, and the 61 will fend him off.
That was Greg Ford again in that number 4 car, going for a really late move down to the inside. That time he got it woed up and didn't get into the back of Bodov, but he's being super aggressive. And Agacani just staying really calm up front, just not biting into any of these big moves. Wow, Ford is a demon on the brakes, isn't he?
He is. I was going to say Modov, I almost feel like was held up a little bit by Agacani because he was a lot closer but decided not to go for it. Now this time he's going to look down to the inside, pulling the move that you mentioned earlier. Yeah. Oh, but can he get it turned? Oh, Agacani goes completely around 180, and he's going to lose 2 positions.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Steve Agacani there, as he went to the throttle, he still had too much turning angle into the front wheels. And he went to throttle, and it just snapped on him.
Also had a bit of an incident between Jason Allen and Mike Wimmer. It looks like actually 2 incidents because they hit one another into the stadium section, and then as they got the cars going, they made more contact, just not aware that the other was beside them. But coming around the final corner, let's see, we'll get a replay, I believe, of Modov. Yeah, this is Agacani being overtaken, and just a fantastic move initially, and Agacani, unfortunately, like you said, ran out of grip on the rears.
Yeah, he just had too much angle into the front tires, went to the throttle, and it pivoted around. The question for me, though, is going to be, did Modov shortcut the course there? Because when he came up the inside, it was a beautiful move, but he clearly had his right side tires well inside of that white line on the edge of the curb there. I don't know exactly what corners they're paying really close attention to here, but look now at Sullivan defending on Sherlock. And Sherlock should have a really good run here. Look at that.
Down the inside. Yeah, he's got it. Sullivan, though, is going to try and fight back. Surprised he's not pulling back into the slipstream here. He could take a good tow of it.
I would have thought he would. And I think what happened, Sullivan was defending so tight to the inside that he just couldn't get slowed down quite enough for 11 and overshot, missed the apex. And that gave an easy pass to Titus Sherlock. But now Sullivan, as you pointed out, has dialed it right back up again and is all over the back of Titus.
Here we go, watching from on board, Jack Sullivan. Drivers being ambitious under braking, but it is paying off. I think when there's a lot less at stake here, and this being a bit of a fun race, there's a lot less to worry about, and especially with the damage turned off, it will hurt the car temporarily, but you can get away with so much more.
Absolutely, and hey, we've added a few $100 more to our donations, up to 22.8. Sure like to see it hit that 23 mark by the time we're done. Oh boy, these guys are in an absolute duel.
Well, it's white
Holy
flag.
cow.
No wonder it is 1 to go, and they're leaving nothing on the table at this stage, with Giuliano Romagnolo still leading by about 2 seconds over Freddie De La Rosa. He has been quick, but I don't think he's quite that quick as we watch the fight for what is now 4th position. Jack Sullivan having to play defense on Verhagen.
Yeah, Verhagen has had a really good race. Started up in the order a little bit, drifted backward. I think he may have been a guy involved in a half spin, and then has fought his way right back up into the top 5 now. And if he can get by in Sullivan, I don't know that he's going to have enough time to get after a shot at the podium, but he'd sure like to get up into that 4th spot. And Modov watching them in the background here. But up front right now, pretty big margins between 1st and 2nd and 2nd and 3rd at this stage.
Yeah, it's looking pretty solid, but never say never. And I have to give a lot of credit to that 38 car for charging back after a spin on the first lap of this stage and being sent to the back, and now looking at a top 5 finish. There is your leader coming down into turn 12, the 70, still at about 1.8 seconds. He's lost a couple tenths, but at this point he could just be managing.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, the Jack Sullivan in that team scholarship car is only a second adrift of Titus Sherlock in that number 12. And so any kind of a little bobble by Sherlock, and he's not in any kind of a race right now. So we're watching Jason Allen here trying to find a way into the top 10. Oh, that was a nice idea. And he had a great run, but the car that was in 10th, Mikkel Miller, turned in right at the last minute.
Meanwhile, here is our leader. It has been Marathis Madness all night, getting ready to take the 4th win of 4 stages, a straight sweep for the number 70, and that is going to be easy math on who is the champion tonight.
It truly is. They just have dominated, and you know that the hue and cry is going to start coming up about this new Audi. Does it need to be BOP'd? That's just where we are right now. But he and Daniel Morad both drove great stints and were able to bring it home on top. And yes, they will get the official win here in the esports race. However, everybody who has taken part, everybody who donated, and everybody who will benefit from those donations are the real winners tonight. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and we're not done with our show yet either. So if you do want to donate, there is still time. We still want to see this thing reach 30,000. I know it's going to be a big leap, but I believe that we can try and get at least a little bit more into this. We hope to get to talk to the drivers in a little bit, so please keep donating if you feel like you have something to give for our Race for RP here on Podium Esports. Looks like we're going to take a quick break before we will come back with the unofficial results. So stick around. There is more to come.
It's hard to put into words what relapsing polychondritis is. It's just devastating. That's what it is. It's devastating.
Relapsing polychondritis is a systemic inflammatory disease that affects multiple organs.
Your immune system attacks cartilage in your body. And as you can imagine, you have cartilage everywhere in your body.
Autoimmune diseases are discreet, and a lot of people are suffering silently.
It is the ultimate nightmare.
We had to figure out who's doing what. So who are the key players? I had to start from scratch.
There's not a lot of data out there on the best treatments for relapsing polychondritis.
People are less inclined to speak out because they don't feel supported.
That's really our primary role, is to validate the things that they've been struggling with. We need investigators from around the world working together.
Our goal is to try to give them their life back.
We're racing now, so why not the Race for RP? Printed up shirts and hats and decals. How else to build awareness?
I can put Race for RP on my suit. You know, I'll gladly wear your hat.
Oh yes, we're on board, definitely, and you see it everywhere.
Some patients who had no interest in motorsports, now all of a sudden it's like, that's my car. You know, that's my driver.
What better way to spread it than to put the logo on a car?
It gives us all hope that they're doing something.
The research that we're doing is helping us to learn more about the disease and then develop effective therapies.
We're going to achieve that through multidisciplinary, multi-specialty research.
We do research because it's our responsibility. We need to do better.
It's recognized the relationship between the autoimmune disorder and cancer. It is providing us this innovative and the right environment to foster our ideas.
As a community, we think that we can do a ton of good by gaining even more support for our research and more support for these initiatives to better diagnose patients, to find better treatments.
We've come halfway. Let us go together. We'll partner and go forward. We can do more.
Every dollar counts.
If we figure out RP, the dominoes will fall.
What this means is that all of the work has mattered.
Without the RP Foundation, my husband wouldn't be alive today.
So how far have we come in these 10 years? Of the many lessons learned, the foremost has been that purpose is powerful. Purpose, even when originating from pain, can bring people together to create change. We are determined to change the outcome for autoimmune and RP patients with your help.
In the film, Neil Langberg tells us that as the family and the foundation began to learn more about relapsing polychondritis, what they discovered was that the last known research was in the 1930s. As the film will show you, we have come a long way in the last 10 years, but the foundation is on the cusp of some groundbreaking findings. We do need your financial support. Thank you.
Welcome back after we watched a fantastic race here at Circuit of the Americas to help raise money for relapsing polychondritis, trying to encourage people to give money to help research towards it. We saw some fantastic racing to give us a treat along the way. And it was Team Radness who easily took this one, winning every single stage with both Daniel Morad and Giuliano Romagnolo behind the wheel. Daniel, you started things off, and it actually looked like you guys had a pretty solid hold on things, at least in that first one. Did it feel like that from inside the cockpit?
It was a bit tricky. It was kind of like a last-minute car choice. Just leading up to this whole thing, unfortunately, my initial teammate couldn't make it. So we had to draft in somebody else last minute. So, first name that came to my mind was Stu. aka Giuliano Romagnolo. Yeah, just a perfect fit. One of my best friends as well, and we haven't really done a race together in a while. So what better race than the race for RP? It was a really, really cool race. I mean, just the way the format was really interesting, and yeah, it was tricky to drive the Audi. Normally, you would see me driving a Mercedes, but unfortunately, the fixed setup is a little bit bugged right now with the ABS and TC. So I had to try another car, and the Audi was knife edge. It was tricky to drive, but we were able to keep it on track for the most part, and Stu brought it home beautifully.
Indeed, and Giuliano, it looked like, speaking of the knife edge, you did have at least one moment. I think it was you. I'm sure so much has happened. Apologies if it wasn't. At one point, there was a hiccup that we never got to see a replay of. What cost you guys the 2.5 lead that you had?
Oh, yeah. So in my stint, I was kind of just holding on and saving tires, knowing that there was going to be another push, like a 5-lap dash. So I didn't really want to burn too much. I had a good lead from the guys behind us battling. But kudos to the team that finished in second. Della Rosa was really quick as well. So in the third race, or my first stint, I think he had a little bit more pace than I did, but I was managing that gap. So just kind of came away from there. And I also had a slowdown. So that slowdown really, really hindered me. And I got it in the second last corner. So I was trying to clear it as fast as I could, or as clean as I could. So that kind of shortened the gap as well.
And
yeah,
I'm very, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, you definitely got back into the rhythm, and were able to do that and put together a great run here. Interesting moments that we're seeing here unfold in this race. Daniel, I got to ask you, during the long pause between the first and second stages, were you just showing off sponsor names? Was that kind of what that was all about?
Yeah, so I just, I wanted to show off. We're doing a 360 no scope, during the race, and I 1v1 that Della Rosa car at Rust, and we ended up winning there. So that was that was good. It was a bit interesting at the start of the race, I have to say, and then once we started dead last, I ended up just dropping to the back of the pack, and we wanted to have a fun time. I mean, this is a race for a great cause, and I know how involved you are as well with it. So really appreciate all the hard work you guys are putting in. But yeah, it was just a good time. I mean, just picked off a few cars at a time. There was some carnage out there, but that's all part of the fun. And during the intermission, I mean, I was just in Discord with the Moradness M Squad guys, which I think a lot of people are familiar with the M Squad, which is a community team. It started out like a community team. Now we're like a family, and we help my teammate in real life, Bryce Ward, train for the races, and we're working with other real life drivers. And these guys all drove the real race car as well, which was amazing. So we were just all in Discord hanging out, and they were teasing me, and I had to go for some big sends out there. And then during the intermission, showed off the brand new 2024 Moradness M Squad car, which is gorgeous. And one thing I wanted to touch on, the incident you said you missed, it was actually between the Della Rosa car and Giuliano, and I actually looked at the incident, and Jules made a really nice move. He dove from the outside into turn 11, and that Della Rosa car just made a move in reaction, which is what caused him to basically self kill himself. Well, he killed himself essentially by moving in reaction to that. So unfortunate, but just a great job by everyone.
Oh no, yeah, that move was absolutely fantastic. And as he was making it, I thought, oh, he's got him pinned to the inside. And then that little last second move, and there's nowhere Giuliano could go. I gotta say quickly, Danny, it's been a long time since I've actually been able to call you in racing, and I'm so glad I saw you on the entry list. It's just been a treat, man.
Yeah, well, it's awesome. I was actually listening to the broadcast while racing, so it was great to hear your voice.
Well, good. You'll know we got some plugs in for Moradness.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much. How much do I owe you?
The quota's been hit. The quota's been hit.
You've already paid me in hats.
Lovely.
Thanks, bud. Joe?
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Daniel Morad and Giuliano Romagnolo for the number 78 Maradness car, taking the points win tonight, as well as all the wins, honestly.
Yeah.
And then up next, it is the number 8 team of Jared's Basement Racing with the likes of Freddie De La Rosa and Daniel Clark. Freddie, excellent run out there at the end of it. You guys looking very festive for the season, but you were definitely in some very fierce battles. What was it like?
Oh, it was pretty cool to be out there and racing some of these guys. It looked fun out there, and no, it was a fun time. Got to learn the track in like an hour and a half, so that was pretty fun. It actually turns out to be a fun track, even though I hated it at first.
Well, I mean, it's a tough track to learn, that's for sure, and the fact that you picked it up that quickly is really impressive. And you just showed some really good speed out there.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I think Dan called me and let me know to do this like over the weekend, and I think the concept was just so cool. You know, do a race for a fundraiser, something for a cause, and just have fun. So yeah, couldn't ask for anything more.
And Daniel, you also started things off. It looked like a lot of this was maybe just kind of trying to stay out of trouble quite a bit. Did you find yourself maybe focusing on just getting the car? I know the damage was off, but getting the car to the end hole?
Yeah, I think so. Your damage was off, but you could definitely feel the tire wear out there. So it was getting, a little bit dicey from lap to lap, different grip conditions, but it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun racing with Jeff Westphal in my stages there. He was doing a really good job. Kind of felt like a real race, really. He was putting his car in the right position, and I think we were side by side multiple times near the end there. So, we've had some ups and downs, but Freddie did a fantastic job tonight. He, like I said, he was kind of learning some of the track just a couple of hours ago, but we were working together really well. And he's really, done a fantastic job picking it up. We're kind of at different points in our career in real racing. I'm, in my 40s just. Freddie's just getting started. He's literally kind of the, poster grassroots racer, working on his own race car right now with a Honda S2000. So props to Freddie, because a lot of guys tonight were really, really experienced. And Freddie kind of was, out there showing a lot of class and consistency.
Do you find yourself imparting a lot of knowledge because of having been through the ringer quite a bit in this racing world?
Yeah, I probably have been through the ringer a bit. I find myself wanting to impart that kind of knowledge and experience, but really, you can't just make anyone a good driver at all. And I don't coach Freddie. He's just a great sim racer already, and in real life too. So he just picks things up, and I didn't really have to do much at all. He just kind of took it and went with it.
Hey, Dan, I was going to also say, great race, obviously. And, you've driven so many different types of cars in your career. And you mesmerized me the first year of the Houston Grand Prix, the IndyCar race around the arena down there, in that long arcing right-hand corner with that massive bump, and you just going straight through it. It was the first time that I could actually see aerodynamics working as that car would rebound and then get squashed right back down again. And it looks like you just love driving anything all the time, don't you?
Yeah, I think you probably said it best. Some of us call that the sickness. We'll race anything, yeah. Whether it's a champ car, with 800 horsepower, or this year racing in the Carrera Cup Series, which I was really fortunate to do, thanks to Reese Nichols here in town and a lot of other sponsors from Putnam Parks, the club. But then here I am tonight, because I just, as much as I say I want to do something else with my life at some point, I just keep coming back.
Well, it's in your veins, my friend, and we are all lucky for it, because you are just an absolute treat to watch drive, and Freddie is going to fill your shoes nicely here. Well done.
Thanks everybody, and thanks for all the guys in Jared's Basement too. We appreciate the support.
Thanks, guys. Fun race.
Thank you.
That was Freddie De La Rosa and Dan Clark racing in Jared's Basement Racing number 8. And third place in the points was Road Shagger Racing Esports, Carl Modoff and Chris Beats behind the wheel of that one. Chris, you started things off up there, but you were fighting for the podium right from the get-go, not with the best of places to start it from. How did you manage to get through the field so quickly?
I think the field did everything for me. I don't think I did anything in particularly different. Just kept it clean, and next thing you know, we're top 5 and battling for a podium. It was good fun.
Go ahead, Greg.
You definitely had to avoid carnage out there in those opening laps, and did a brilliant job of that. Once you got up into that battle for the top 5, then top 4, that was some of the most entertaining racing I've seen in a long time. Just the swapping of positions, and you were relentless out there. You knew you had a good weapon, didn't you?
Yeah, I had good fun with Daniel Mora. That's always awesome. I'm just a part-time, have a sim racer, and to race with the real guys is really awesome. That Audi definitely had a lot more grip, especially in some of the long sweeping corners. So we knew we just needed to let that battle go once he was off. And then Jeff did a great job. He put the car in all the right places and made it extremely difficult. I had an absolute blast. It was a good time.
It was awesome. Yeah, seeing you guys, I always call it this high-speed game of chess. And watching you guys moving your pieces around on this 3.4 mile chessboard, and seeing his defense and your attack, it's just a joy to watch, man. Thank you so much for a great show.
Hey, no worries. It was a good time.
No, of course, we can't forget about Carl out there. Carl, no. I've called you in all types of races over in PRL, but not an event like this before. You got to be proud of yourself coming off with the top 3.
Well, I'm proud of Chris. He really carried the team. I think, the start of the first race starting, I think we started 19th, and everyone kind of parted the seas for him a little bit. And then when I hopped in, I think we had a little bit of the luck kind of bounced back on us. I got swallowed alive on the first lap. Stage 3, which really set us back. I think we could have maybe even challenged Roman Yolo there in the end, but it's just really cool to be a part of this experience, to be a part of a good cause, to raise money for something and to bring awareness. So thanks for inviting me. It's good to see Joe, familiar faces here, and it was awesome to be out there battling. First couple of races, I was really just trying to mind my P's and Q's and be respectful. And then I realized it was a different beast out there. The way everyone was kind of sending it was a lot of fun, but kind of have to have that same mentality. So stage 4, we kind of upped the aggressiveness and we're able to go forward, which was fun. And yeah, I think I was able to get high enough to get us back into the podium contention after the good work that Chris did.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great comeback, absolutely. And, once you got up in there, as you said, there were some guys that were making some real, almost desperate lunges at you. And you just seemed to, if you had to, avoid it, and at other times be able to make a nice repass as well. So it was a real treat.
Yeah, thanks for that, Greg. We definitely had some good battles out there throughout. Hopefully everyone that tuned in today got some enjoyment out of it. I know I did, and hopefully we have another one next year.
We hope so too, and we hope you're a part of it.
Yeah, me as well. I love doing this sim racing stuff. It's, I grew up racing go-karts, but I haven't raced cars. So, this is kind of like my entry-level ability to go racing and, to have that, just to be able to compete, in this kind of sport in a way. It really drives you to keep trying to get better, which, really makes it fun over the long term.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. Whether real world or, sim, it's the pursuit of that perfect lap that just keeps you, going after it. And it was fun to call you today, fun to watch you race, and you guys as a team just did a superb job.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate all you guys putting this together and calling the race for us. Proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Carl Modoff and Chris Beats in the third place, number 61. Speaking of which, why don't we take a glance at how the top 5 were in those points? Obviously, Moradness with that perfect score were far and ahead of everybody else. It was a pretty close fight for second, though. Jared's Basement Racing only eked out Road Shagger by about 5 points, and then it was another 4 down to Carbon with Peregrine and Sudaria to Wilson. kind of bringing up the rear in 5th at 34 points. Well, I'd say we got the entertaining race that we were hoping for, Greg. It was
incredible, wasn't it?
Yes, and
fun!
I think we should bring this format to some other races. That was very cool to see.
It was really entertaining, and I particularly liked that element of the fundraise 'em up challenge, where obviously that's what this whole thing was about, was to raise money for research for autoimmune disorders and relapsing polychondritis, but the ability to keep funding your team all the way up through the end of that second stage, to give them a boost, like you kind of referenced it, sort of like the Formula E fan involvement scenario, sort of the same thing, and I just love that that concept. The one thing we saw, obviously, they were still worried about tire life. The next time we do this, I wouldn't mind seeing each of the stages be like 10 laps or so, because the racing was just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely take more of it. It was just a joy. But I can't thank you enough for coming and working with us, Greg, as well as everybody behind the scenes. This has been just a wonderful race, wonderful cause. And if we look at the bottom, we raised $22,845 in this event alone. Feel proud of yourself if you help donate towards that. And you're welcome to donate at any time, of course. But from everybody here, a big thank you for watching and joining in. I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.